right, students, here we are to download ArcMap on our own home machine. I just want to walk you through these instructions. They are pretty self-explanatory, but there's a couple spots where you could make a mistake and end up not downloading or authorizing the things you want. So these are the instructions I sent you along with your authorization code. I'm going to go to this link here. That's where I'm going to open the link in a new tab. That's where I'm going to download. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to activate our authorization code, which, let's see, student trial. I have an Esri account. We already set that up. And I must, here we go. So my authorization code is that because I've already entered it. And that should already be activated for me because I've already run through this once. What I want to download now is we're going to look at 10.6 to start us out because that's what our tutorials are in. So I'm going to go ahead and we've got ArcGIS Pro and ArcGIS here. That's just the page that takes you to that package. But what we are going to download, and if you look here at the instructions, we're looking for ArcGIS for desktop here to download. So ArcGIS for desktop, also known as ArcMap. We're going to download that right here. So hit that download button, and this is going to take a couple minutes. So I'm going to hit that, and you can see that I have two downloading here. I have one that I canceled earlier when I was just kind of messing around getting things ready. But this is going to take 2 to 3 minutes here. So we'll sit here and get that downloaded, and of course you can just fast forward through this. And once that's downloaded, we'll be ready to kind of get it downloaded to our machine and then authorize what we've got. So let's kind of go back to the instructions, and while that's downloading and read through them a little bit further. So what we just did is we used our authorization code to activate that, and then we downloaded the version that we wanted to activate there. And then the last steps here, part C. We don't need to uninstall anything because we didn't have anything on our machine. I don't need to worry about the Microsoft Net framework. I've got that already on my machine. I'm going to decide where I'm going to install the software. In this case, we want to install the software to our root, and that's going to be the default location to our C directory. One thing you want to be aware of, anything you're working with ArcMap, because it's a software that has been around for decades, it's built over time. So they don't dismantle the whole thing and rebuild something new. They add on a little bit, improve a little bit here, tweak a little bit there, add on a little bit there. So we've got code in here that's very old, and for that reason, you want to make sure that you follow all file conventions that most of you as students are probably of a generation that don't remember like a computer screen staring at you with a C prompt and you had to type things in to make it work, right? We've all had this like nice Windows type interface, but as a relic from those days, we have file paths that are going to mess us up. And so when you store your spatial data, your GIS data folders, you want to make sure that when you name the folders, you don't start with a number. You don't have any spaces or special characters in your name. So the folders that you and the paths to get to those folders, so all the folders that they are within, that they're nested within, you want to make sure that there's no spaces, special characters, and they're not starting with a number. Sometimes you can find, especially when you're running some types of analyses, that ArcMap is going to choke up on you if you've got a file path that it's looking down that's got a special character or a space. So that's just something to be aware of. Let's have this open. I think it's ready. All right, so the destination folder, yes, this is just fine. So this is my son's machine, and it's going to install the execution files in his documents. So that's just fine. And there's already a file with the same rate. Yeah, they need to overwrite it because because I already installed this once. And now I'm just videoing it. So you're not going to have these overriding things that I'm needing to tell it to do. Okay, so we've got them extracted to our computer, and I'm going to close that. And I do want it to be able to make changes to my device because that's how we get the software installed. And this is the setup program. So it's kind of nice to have a little setup wizard. We're going to hit next if that all looks good to us. This is the master agreement, which I've read before. You can take some time to read it. I'm going to accept it and go next. I do want a complete installation. And they're going to install it to the program files times 86. That should be fine. ArcGIS 10 desktop 10.6. We'll go next. It's going to need to use Python. Where Python's at, that's just fine. That's just the language it uses when you do coding stuff, which mostly it's going to do that for you. You don't need to learn code to run this. Sure, I'll participate in the user experience, and we're going to install. So this is going to take a few minutes. You might want to fast forward through the install. I'm trying to think if I have any good stories to tell you while the installation is taking place. Can't think of any good ones right now. I guess I could tell you, of course, the first time I purchased this software, I purchased it on my own. I spent, about a year and a half, 2 years, right after our family moved, running a consulting business with wetlands and threatened and endangered species surveys and that sort of thing, just to kind of got started up before I got on with a larger company, and I needed to be able to make maps, and so I purchased ArcMap on my own, and this is not quite in the starving student days, but pretty close to it, and it was such expensive software. I actually went in with another a little bit bigger company, and together we purchased the software, and that was over a decade ago. So it's been around a while, and that certainly wasn't one of the newest or one of the oldest versions of it. It's been around for decades, but I was so excited to have ArcMap on my own machine, and now I could get the maps made that I needed to for the work I was doing. So the install will take just a little bit of time here. And once we get it installed, then we'll finish the authorization. So we activated our authorization code, and then the next step is we authorize the installed software. So I guess we're here at step 10, locate and run setup.exe. All right, our several minutes is almost to its close. Okay, we're going to finish this installation. And we're going to pick the advanced single use. And we're going to authorize now. Okay, I have installed my software and I need to authorize it. Yes. Authorize with Esri now using the internet. Yes. And I entered the information already for my new account here. I don't have a comment. I've got the authorization information, so I just use the college's address. And then education, staff and faculty, natural resources educator. You guys can be a student. We'll go next. And here's where I enter my authorization code again. So the first time we entered it, it was to activate our authorization code. And this time it's to authorize the software. So that's EVA for me, 906157708. All right, and so you're going to have a different number, although yours I think is going to start with EVA as well. All the rest of the codes in my batch that I'm going to send you start with EVA. So I'll just double check my number, 906157708. All right, and I'm going to hit next. And I don't need to authorize any extensions at this time. I'm going to use, I don't have an authorization code for those extensions. We just have the basic authorization code, but I can do a couple of months of a trial evaluation version. I want to use Spatial Analyst. Where's that at? So the last few weeks of the quarter, we're going to be working with Spatial Analyst, maybe. There's a chance we could get into it. So I'm going to go ahead and authorize that one. And I'll hit next. And now it's going to connect back to Esri site. It's going to recognize my authorization code. Going to talk back to my computer and going to authorize my software. So while it's downloaded, then it's going to be authorized to open. If you don't complete the authorization step here, your software is downloaded, but when you try to open it, it won't work. It'll tell you that it's not authorized. So now I'm going to say finish. And here we go. It's going to tell me about my, this is my administrator, and it's just giving me the information about the software, and that all looks fine. Now if I go to my startup location on my computer, which is just down in this, yeah, that's not what I wanted. Down in this corner, or can look at our software. And this not being my computer, it's not as fast for me to mess around with it. But I'm going to minimize this window. This is what I wanted, the startup key at the side here. Recently added software, ArcMap 10.6. I'm going to go ahead and drag it down to my taskbar here. And did I drag it down okay? Did that work for me? Drag it down to my taskbar. Doesn't want to stick. There we go. Okay, and now I can just double click that and I can open the software. Keep our fingers crossed. That was just enough steps in computer land that you could introduce errors somewhere, but we should be just fine. That's why I'm doing it on a video for you, so that ta-da! So that you'll have success just like I did. The instructions walk you through it, right? You probably didn't need to see that, but now you see it too, just in case you need it in the video. So, so let's take a look here. When you first open ArcMap, it's going to have this getting started window. Half the time I just hit cancel. If you've got a project you've already been working on, it's going to show up here. If you want to work with a template, you've got different sizes and templates that are already laid out for you there. Half the time, or probably 90% of the time, we just hit cancel here and we start a map. We start on a map. But this is what you should have if you've downloaded ArcMap on your machine. If you get stuck, you know, it's always safe to send me a quick text and say, hey, I'm stuck. Can you give me a call? And I could give you a call as soon as I'm out of class or I get a break, and I can talk you through maybe wherever you are. But it's really important that this week you get ArcMap installed on your machine so that you're ready to just roll with it. Okay, so this week we want to be registered with Esri, have our account registered so we can access all their trainings, and we want ArcMap loaded on our machine. So this concludes my demonstration. Please, like I said, give me a text if you do get stuck.